Good evening, everyone. Tonight is the Town Council regular meeting, Wednesday, October 2021 at 7 p.m. via GoTo teleconference. We will start with Dennis leading us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dennis.
You're welcome, sir.
All right. Item number 2 on our agenda would be visitors. Are there any visitors that would like to be recognized at this time?
Yes, Matthew.
Hi, Ruth.
Hello. You want me to talk about our Mass Law?
Sure. Let us know what you're here for tonight. That'd be great.
Okay. Well, I wanted to talk about the town council filing an ordinance to approve the usage of golf carts in our association, just 3 streets and for a trial period. The Country Club Estates consists of just 3 streets, Indian, Mohawk, and Iroquois. For golf carts, the Connecticut statute allows local traffic authorities to decide on golf carts on town roads that have speeds of 25 miles per hour or less. The state requirements on golf carts are carry a valid driver's license, use in daylight hours, you have to have a flag and a horn. There are several shoreline communities that do have golf carts. Old Lyme offers golf carts for 5 beach communities with the different streets named. Branford allows them in Pine Orchard with the streets named. Stonington and Lord's Point and Old Saybrook on numerous communities, too numerous to mention. They have over 650 golf carts. So why are we asking for this? Well, our community has several seniors and a few with mobility issues, a lot of retirees. And some residents would like to use golf carts instead of their scooters. And they're just more practical because they can carry more stuff to the beach. A few residents purchased golf carts and were using them without any incident for several years. And then the beginning of the summer, one of the policemen went to the president of our association and said, tell the rest of your members, don't use any golf carts anymore because you're going to be fined $300. So, and we just want to point out that obviously golf carts are quite easy and the parking lot is kind of small. And so sometimes we even run out of space. Other towns such as Saybrook, well, all the towns require owners to pay registration fees and place license plates on the golf carts. The plate allows the police to identify the golf cart in case there's any issues with the golf cart. And also it helps residents to self-police themselves. You could tell on your neighbor for that matter. So we would also be monitoring that. Old Saybrook has over 650 golf carts registered. And we've been told by the people in those towns that the cost actually pays for the program. All the license fees pays for the program itself. And they are very happy with the program. And we presented our golf cart research in Connecticut to the Police Commission in August in person. And then in September, the police chief got back to us. And he said he was not in favor of golf carts. But he said that he's going to leave it up to you, the town council, to discuss this. And if the town council is in favor of this, then he may be amenable to it. And so our reasons, or his reasons against and our reasons for. Chief DeMayo said that the usage of golf carts couldn't just be offered in one section of town, it had to be offered to the whole town, but that's not true. The other communities just allow it in certain beach communities and the specific streets are named. We're only asking for 3 small streets. Old Lyme, as I said, just 5 beach communities. Branford, Pine Orchard, Stonington, Lord's Point, Old Saybrook, numerous. So Chief DeMayo also said that allowing golf carts is a safety issue. And since he's responsible for public safety, then he's not in favor of golf carts. But we would pose several points related to this. Are carts any more dangerous than motorcycles, race cars, electric bikes, electric trikes? We don't think so. And have there been numerous and serious injuries to people on golf carts? Not according to any of the towns that we talk to, not to the people in those departments. And there's no more liability to the town of Clinton for driving golf carts than there is for a car. Your insurance policy covers you in your car and in your liability policy. The 3 roads are very flat, and we're only talking about driving from your home to the beach, just 3 small flat streets.
The Association Beach.
The Association Beach, right. And he said that the department received a report of an operator of a golf cart being drunk. Well, this was an accusation and not a finding. No one in CCEA was ever accused by police of driving a golf cart drunk. And no one in our association has been arrested for driving a golf cart drunk. And people are not any more likely to drive a golf cart drunk than they are a car or motorcycle or anything else. And I understand that Chief DeMeo is extremely busy. He's doing a great job under very tight fiscal constraints. And I think he's probably concerned that implementing this policy would require more work on his part and his staff, with no increase in staff and no increase in funds. But the towns that we talked to said there was no increase in costs from this policy. And the wheel for Clinton does not have to be reinvented. You can lift the policy from Old Saybrook or take the best practices of all the towns that have it. When we spoke to the police commission, we did not suggest a trial period, but given his concerns, I think it would make sense to just try this on a test period, see how it goes. We're only asking for 3 streets. So we know the town council works very hard. You're all volunteers. Thank you very much. But we hope that you will think of everyone, think of all communities, and think of all residents, and just give us a shot at trying this out for a year. Like I said, it's just 3 streets flat. And believe me, we'll be policing it ourselves if we see any infractions whatsoever. So, so that's it. We hope you'll consider our request.
Thank you, Ruth. All right, we'll be discussing this further down in our agenda items. Any other visitors on the call that would like to be recognized?
Yes, hi, my name is Tom Foster, 37 Indian Drive, and I just wanted to support everything that Ruth said. Relative to the accusations that were made about some of the golf carts in our neighborhood, the accusation was people were driving drunk. What about innocent before proven guilty? I mean, that was just an accusation. There was no proof of that. So I think, again, we have to take that into consideration. As far as speeding was another complaint. Well, I know myself, I'm an owner of a golf cart, and my golf cart would be lucky if it get up to 8 miles an hour. And we have people coming through our neighborhood in cars driving 30, 40, 50 miles an hour. And then as far as the driving after dawn, as Ruth said, we're all mature adults here. And unfortunately, some of us too mature. But we think that we are a self-policing association. And I think given a trial period would give us the opportunity to prove to the chief that we are responsible and we will self-police each other. As to the public safety, as Ruth said, I think there's much more danger in driving electric scooters and motorcycles and things of that sort than there is for a golf cart. So I strongly recommend that we follow Ruth's recommendations. And I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Anyone else for visitors? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to item number 3, which is the approval of the minutes for the October 6, 2021 meeting. Do we have a motion to approve? Kim, second. Eric, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain? Thank you. Item number 4, which is appointments and reappointments. We do not have any at this time, so we will move on to item number 5, which is the use of golf carts in Country Club Estates Association. So before kind of we get into the debating on this, just so everybody's clear on the council side, the council doesn't have, by state statute, the council does not have the authority to pass an ordinance as it relates to golf carts on roadways. That is left up to the local traffic authority. They have the ability to approve the use of golf carts on roadways. So as a council, we really don't have much leverage in passing an ordinance as it relates to this. I'll open it up to the council members for discussion, but I just wanted to let everybody know that up front.
I have a question. Now, Chris, I read through the statute this afternoon, and there was mention of an LTA, and I think you mentioned local traffic authority. What role could we play in this? How would we accommodate the requests from these folks down in that neighborhood?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Carl, is there any, I mean, other than an ordinance, we really can't tell the local traffic authority what to do. We don't have that ability. So, Carl?
All you have is the ability to encourage. The traffic authority in Clinton is the police commission. In some of the other towns that was listed, the local traffic authority is also the board of selectmen. I gave you a copy of an Office of Legislative Research report that gives you a little bit of a background on the issue and who can be a local traffic authority. So in this particular case, it was given to the hands of the local traffic authority by the General Assembly. The council can advocate, can encourage, but you don't have the means to pass an ordinance because it's not an authority that was given to the local governing board.
Can I say something? This is Ruth Matthews.
At this point, this is just discussion amongst the council members. Any other council members have any comments?
Yes, Mark Richards. Yeah, Chris, I live in the neighborhood. You know, I don't have a golf cart. I don't golf carts. They've been using them for years. I don't know if we have a disgruntled neighbor that's not part of our neighborhood. There's a boundary question, and this lady called the police department and has caused this issue to come forward, unfortunately, because if it was just left alone, there was never a problem. There's 3 or 4 golf carts in the area. They come down to the beach, they bring their baskets down. It's really a non-issue. There's no detriment to the neighborhood. Again, I don't have one. I don't plan on getting one. But as I live here, there is no issue. The cars going to the marina are far more of an issue than the golf carts because they don't live here. They just go to the marina. They go through our neighborhood very quickly. They never stop at the stop sign. They go right through it. And I would only wish that the police would spend time monitoring them and not worrying about golf carts. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Anybody else? Tim?
Chris? Yeah, I'll speak up. I don't own a golf cart. I ride them when I go play golf, but I don't have them in the community. I find they're very safe. The only time they're not is if you drive them crazy, going up or down hills. I don't think that's a problem in what we're discussing here tonight. And I personally don't see any reason why we should discourage this. I feel the same way as Mark does, that they evidently already have monitored themselves in a safe way. And I don't think that there's any reason for me to deny them access in the way that they have become accustomed.
Thanks, Tim. Anybody else?
Chris?
Yes,
Can you
who's
hear
this? Yeah. Carol?
It's Carol.
Yep.
Yeah, I grew up in a community where golf carts were frequent flyers in Branford, and I never personally saw any issues. I think in this very limited space and with a year preview to allow the police department to give them permission would be a good step, a neighborly step for that community, and just make it safe for everybody involved there.
Thank you, Carol. Anyone else? So I'm going to get this, again, at this point, really no action. I mean, other than maybe, going back to the police commission, because obviously that's where it lies. It lies with the police commission. They are our local traffic authority. They're the ones that are going to, have to approve this, the use of golf carts in that area. So again, like Carl says, we can make a recommendation, you can urge, you do whatever, but at the end of the day, it really isn't up to the council to weigh in on this. And obviously an ordinance is not something that we can do. So I guess we can, push forth and maybe put it back to the police commission and local traffic authority to look at it again.
Chris, could we then vote to make a recommendation to the traffic authority? Would you entertain that?
If somebody would like to make a motion, we can do that, yeah.
I would like to make a motion.
Okay.
That's
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you.
So basically, the motion would be to kind of push this back maybe to the police commission, local traffic authority to reevaluate again. But
Yes,
ultimately, that's their decision.
Golf carts.
Encourage them to pass it.
Any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? All right. Thank you very much. The motion passes, and I guess we'll have that conversation, see if we can push it through there and see what happens. But again, at this point, thank you, Ruth, for coming forward, Tom, for voicing your concerns, and we will see what happens going forward. Item number 6, which is the Homeland Security Grant Resolution. Everybody has a copy of the resolution. Basically just looking for, does anybody have any questions on this before we move forward? Okay. If everybody's good, then we'll just look for a motion to approve the resolution authorizing execution of a memorandum of agreement for the Homeland Security Grant Program.
So moved.
A second. Jim, any other discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? And that motion passes. Thank you. Now on to item number 7, to act on the following ordinances. Obviously, earlier tonight, we had the public hearing on the revised Blight Ordinance, revised land use application fees ordinance, fire marshal fee ordinance, the ordinance prohibiting cannabis establishments as land use, and ordinance prohibiting cannabis on town property. We now can open these up for discussion, and we'll be voting on these. Obviously, we can go in order of these one by one if it's just easier for everybody. So let's start with the revised Blight Ordinance. John Allen and Jane spoke in favor of this. We all council members obviously have copies of every ordinance. Hopefully, they've all reviewed these. If there's any other questions up front as it relates to the Blight Ordinance, does anybody have any questions, comments for Carl?
Carl, quickly, looks like the review board would consist of three members. Would those members be appointed by the council?
Yes, those are council appointments to be the agency that hears those that want to appeal the determination of blight. Instead of a single hearing officer, it's a board in this particular case. So 3 volunteers will be needed to round that out.
And those come as appointments from the town council, correct?
Correct. The actual language is the town council shall appoint a blight hearing board comprised of 3 individuals to hear such appeal pursuant to a higher section.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the revised Blight Ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Mark? Okay. Any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Thank you. The revised land use application fees ordinance, we've been back and forth with this on call, so I think we're all, I guess, on the same page as it relates to this ordinance. Just putting us in line with kind of where everybody else is and where we need to be. Are there any other further questions on this ordinance before we go? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the revised land use application fees ordinance?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Mark, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Thank you. Motion carries. Move on to fire marshal fees ordinance. Again, any questions up front as it relates to this ordinance? All right, hearing none. Do we have a motion to approve the fire marshal fees ordinance?
So moved.
A second.
Second. Any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Thank you. Motion carries. Moving on to the ordinance prohibiting cannabis establishments as land use. Any comments or questions, concerns up front on this one? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the ordinance prohibiting cannabis establishments as land use?
So moved.
Mark and
Second.
Dennis? Yeah, okay. Is there any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Thank you. Motion carries. And lastly, the ordinance prohibiting cannabis on town property. Comments or questions up front?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you. Do we have a
Second.
second? Mark? Okay. Any other further discussion?
Just one point of order. I know, as a matter of fact, that'd be town beaches, parks, whatever. Does that also pertain to our public sidewalks, Mr. Kilduff?
The public sidewalks is covered under statute. So it's not something that the town is going to regulate. The town has the ability to regulate its own municipally owned properties. Sidewalks come into play under state statute where you cannot consume within proximity of certain locations, within proximity to certain air intakes, open doors, and the like. So that may be more germane to the downtown and less to sidewalk in the residential neighborhood.
Okay.
Good.
Thanks for clarification.
Yep. Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Thank you. Motion carries. Before we move on to item number 8, I do want to thank, obviously, Carl, Tim, Dennis, and Carol for all their work on the Blight Ordinance. I know you guys put together and did a lot of hard work putting that together, so thank you all for that work that you did on that ordinance. We will now move on to the Finance Director's report, and Sue.
Hi, good evening, everybody. September results are being presented. It's the third month of fiscal year 22. It's the end of the first quarter already. And I'll just go over some of the highlights that are in your packet. Revenues for the month of September were $685,000. Tax revenues made up the majority of that, of $512,000. The current tax levy collections for the quarter are 55% of that which was budgeted, which is basically the same as at the same period last year. The remainder of the revenues included town services of $95,000, a third of that which was from building fees. Another $25,000 was received from fixed asset sales of DPW assets. $20,000 in boat moorings and $18,000 in real estate conveyance taxes by the town clerk. State grant revenues of $41,000 were also received, and those are further described in your write-up. Expenses for the month of September were $4.5 million. The majority of that, $3.3 million, were the Board of Education transfer requests. The remaining $1.2 million of expenditures were the normal recurring for salary, benefits, utilities, and those are also further detailed in the report. Year-to-date expenses for the 3 months were $16.9 million, which is $2 million higher than the previous year. And the reason for that is additional $1.5 million of the capital transfers to the capital fund that were approved in this budget, as well as $600,000 of additional educational transfers so far this year. The contingency account was budgeted at $170,000 for fiscal year 22, and so far we've had 2 transfers from that: the $5,000 which was donated to the fireworks, and the $12,000 which was approved at your last meeting for the Pearson study. Treasury investments were $32 million. Restricted funds included in that is the $2 million. And interest income is $14,000 for the quarter. As far as other things in the finance office, we're basically working on 4 main things going on right now. We have the audit. We've supplied the auditors with everything they've requested, and we're waiting for them to complete the field work and provide us with a draft of the financials. I have a call with the partner tomorrow to discuss their next steps, but we're just waiting on them at this point. We've started work on the fiscal year 23 budget, starting to prepare the worksheets that will be going out to the department heads in early November. We've also started working on, Carl and I met with the bond advisor, and we started working on the financing that will be done in the early part of 22. And then we're still working on our e-finance upgrade. Those are the main things going on in our office. I also presented in your packet the award that the town was just notified that we received, which was the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for our last year's report. This is the 3rd year the town has received this award, and it's significant because it does get included with the financial statements, and it reflects very favorably on the town. And it's especially important when we're being reviewed by ratings agencies. We're going for funding, which we will have to do again this year, another rating. So I'd like to thank all that assisted with that. And that concludes my report.
Thanks, Sue, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Sue? All right, thank you again, Sue. All right, we will move on now to item number 9, which is the council discussion on future projects. Does anybody have any comments at this time about future projects? Nobody? Eric?
Quickly, where are we with the Pearson? I know it was a $12,000 fee there. Where does that stand currently?
The engineering firm has been reviewing drawings that were supplied to them, and they're going to do a site visit next week in order to walk through the property and get a better feel for what the structural elements are. They anticipated a 30-day turnaround time from when they started. So that's something that should come through by the middle of next month.
Okay, very good.
Also, while unasked, I'll add it because you already know this, but discussion and dialogue remains ongoing with the Morgan Trust, which you all know is an important part of this discussion too.
Thank you. Is there any updates on the STEEP grant, the funding that we got for the STEEP grant for the facade improvements? What about the application process for that? Have people been submitting applications? How far are we along with that?
There's been strong interest. Interest has been voiced by people in the targeted area, which was sort of the core of the central business district. I did receive inquiries from other people who are outside of that core area that are also interested. So they're putting together their materials. As of right now, I have not received an application yet. I know some of that interest needs to be moved over into actual applications. I think the hurdle that people are experiencing right now is getting 3 quotes for the anticipated scope of work, which is part of the procurement requirements that the state passes through to us as in administering the grant.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Comments? All right, hearing none, then we will move on to the chairman's report. Just a couple things I want to talk about. Clinton Human Services is doing a Clinton Cares event this Sunday, October 24th, from 2 to 5 over at Town Beach. It's something that Human Services has put together, a whole bunch of people talking, and just basically an event to get people together from town. Some speakers that are going to be talking as well. So just kind of a community event, an open mic event, mental health resources, kind of that sort of parameters that they put out there to put this event together. So obviously if people are around on Sunday and would like to stop by, that's going to be Sunday from 2 to 5 at the Clinton Town Beach. There is a rain date, but don't anticipate that happening. Other than that, obviously, people that are driving around town can see obviously what's going on around here. Obviously, the Big Y will be set to open. They say tomorrow for whatever a soft opening is for a grocery store. Not quite sure what that is, but whatever that may be. And then a grand opening on November 4th. So Big Y obviously is moving forward. You see the new pad that's also being has started over there at the development. So that's going in, and then obviously Starbucks is continuing to move along. And then just obviously all of the other things that are going on in town. We see a lot of development going on down the West End, which I think is great for our town. I think we see that, it seems like development breeds development. So these buildings are going up, and then you see new buildings going up, in close proximity. So I think it's great that we can all drive around our town and see some really, really great things going on. I think we're in a great position and moving forward with some other new developments that are going in as well. So we should all be, we're very proud of the stuff that's going on in our town. So,
Mr. Chairman, Van Wilgens is open too now.
Van Wilgens, correct, yes. Yep, they opened last weekend. So just another makes that corner look a lot better than it looked before. So it's great to see that. It's great to see things opening up and moving forward. So obviously we want to keep things moving in the right direction, and we're going to be in really good shape. So other than that, we are good on my end. Now we will go to town manager's report.
You have the report I submitted to you in writing. There are a couple things I'm looking for some council guidance and direction on. So at the beginning of the report was an update on where MIRA stands. MIRA is the Materials Innovation and Recycling Authority, the new version of CRRA that handles our waste. So they're trying to manage both the wind down of the Hartford trash to energy plants and gear up to ship municipal solid waste out of the state of Connecticut, either by truck or by train. So we issued a series of RFPs looking to get some pricing for moving waste within the state and then moving waste from Connecticut out of state, as well as operations of the Hartford facility as a transfer station instead of a trash to energy plant. The concern that's being voiced by MIRA officials is that we have a 5-year arrangement with them that means our waste would be parked with them through 2027. There is a window period every year where the town can opt out and seek alternatives for where we can place our waste. The landscape in Connecticut is limited, so there aren't a lot of places else to put our waste that are nearby that aren't going to increase our costs or make it a wash as we truck waste up to either Lisbon or Bridgeport for their trash to energy plant. Wallingford has gone offline, so there's only so many places the waste can go if it's not going to MIRA. So MIRA's take is that their negotiating position with some of these vendors can be enhanced to put a curb on the growth of the tip fee if all municipalities give up that flexibility to pull out over the next 5 years, so that the vendors can be more efficient in their pricing and purchasing of the necessary equipment and relationships to truck waste to places like Pennsylvania, or if it's going to go by train, Michigan and Alabama were flagged as potential locations to send waste. It's just more of a poll for interest. It's not a binding agreement at this point in time. If anything binding, it's going to come back to the council to approve the actual agreement that we have with MIRA. Given the fact that there doesn't seem to be a lot of options in order to place our waste, I'm not sure there's really any point in retaining any kind of flexibility. It doesn't seem as if there's a lot of options at play one way or the other. So I have not responded yet to MIRA on their survey request. Just want to make sure that the council kind of understands where things are at with them as a vendor. The state's policy as of right now, being communicated by DEEP, briefly discussed at our last meeting, is to focus on increasing recycling. to increase recycling volumes and reduce the volume of MSW that now will be shipped out of state. There doesn't seem to be an indication of where the state wants to go with handling the municipal solid waste piece, or whether there's going to be a new regulatory landscape in the state one way or the other. Mira's got a shelf life of 5 more years with the Hartford facility, and it's not clear what's going to happen once we reach 2027 for whatever is not recyclable. So the news is not overly cheerful. This issue has been covered in the media of late, and again, there hasn't been a very positive media coverage of it, because it really kind of shows that there's not a lot of options. Connecticut is moving from having been a leader of handling our solid waste to doing what I think everyone agrees is probably the wrong thing, to ship it elsewhere. So if the council doesn't have a feeling one way or the other, I would respond back to Mira that we're not adverse to losing the flexibility to pull out between now and 2027.
Anyone have any comments on that? Mark?
I was just going to ask a question. I've been reading some articles about the whole food waste and how to compost. And I know it's complicated and it's just started, but what's your feeling on that, Carl? Can we make that happen within a year or so?
So you have 2 options. One is to have a vendor haul that waste away, and I guess we would collect it at the transfer station instead of collecting it at the curb. Right now, since there's really only one location to take food scraps to, it's in Southington. The net is an increase in our total disposal costs to collect it and then ship it up to the digester that's up in Southington. So something else, a market needs to be created in Connecticut to take waste or food scraps and then recycle it, and have a more diverse network than just a single facility in Southington in order to make it more economically viable. The other option is to take it and mix it in with leaves that are collected at the transfer station and make it a richer compostal blend. That requires permit approval from DEEP. If we were going to go in that direction, that's the option that we would look at, is to try and take some of that waste and divert it into leaf piles. But again, people would have to bring it to the transfer station. It wouldn't be a curbside program. That seems to be the model that Old Saybrook is operating under. It's maybe diverting a ton of waste. So the numbers haven't been that huge as they start up their efforts to divert food scraps. And obviously there's a public education component that needs to be dealt with. So that kind of details on what we talked about at the last meeting of an expression of interest to DEEP for a grant to get technical advice on sort of the unit-based pricing or so-called pay-as-you-throw, or any other technical advice for how to handle food scraps. I think we can manage food scraps without technical input. It would really be whether there was any desire to do anything with pay-as-you-throw. The last meeting, the desire was to reach out to sustainability for them to give us input. They're having a hard time mustering a quorum and have not had recent meetings. And they did not take that on as a topic for their conversation. And we're not sure they were going to be able to spin it around between your last meeting and this meeting. So I don't have any feedback from sustainability at this point. Based on conversations with folks at the COG, they're trying to find somebody who could be a pilot, but it may not make sense for Clint to be a pilot because it's complicated by the fact that the majority of waste is handled by private haulers, rather than a program where we contract for a hauler to pick it up, one hauler to pick it up at the curb, or Public Works to pick it up at the curb. With multiple haulers, it's a little bit more of a challenging model that really doesn't lend itself well to being the pilot candidate. And then, of course, you've got people who can just take their waste straight to the transfer station. So we're kind of we're a peculiar delivery system for solid waste.
Anyone else? So at this point, Carl, any direction you need from us would be,
I'll respond to Mira that, at least for their survey purposes, we're not adverse to losing the right to pull out. We may want to have conditions at some point in time. And then I guess for the deep program, maybe a little bit more local thought needs to be put into a policy decision before we're trying to leverage technical advice to support where you want to go with solid waste. Maybe the council wants to specifically charge or remind sustainability that this is their charge and give them the time to get up to speed and understand the nuances of unit-based pricing. Other items of note in the report, Sue touched on that we're going to be moving forward with bonding, and that will take place in February. We are looking right now to see if there's any economic feasibility to refunding some of our eligible bonds, as to whether or not it makes sense to take their tax exempt status and refund them as taxable bonds, and try and pull down where sort of the net shakes out for our debt that's to be issued. I did give you some additional information on the regional housing plan, as well as a website that you can go to on YouTube to watch the presentation that was given by the consultants that the COG has engaged. Without stealing their thunder, and I think if you actually watch the video, it's not an encouraging report in terms of the demographics of the region, but it sort of helps at least frame what the market is going to be, where affordability fits in our part of Connecticut. The next steps going forward into the winter would be local discussions with what makes sense in Clinton as opposed to sort of regional policy issues. Beyond that, the only other item to call your attention to is I did receive an email from an individual who was looking for some kind of acknowledgement that November is Awareness Month for pancreatic cancer. This individual has a personal connection to issues associated with pancreatic cancer and was looking for the town to do something. In some cases, it's a proclamation, and in this particular case, they're looking for the possibility of lighting up the town hall purple, which I guess is the color for pancreatic cancer awareness. So if it's a proclamation, that's something that would come from the town council next month, if that's your desire. The actual day for World Pancreatic Cancer Day is November 18th. So if there's interest on the council on that front, we can have a proclamation prepared for your next meeting, which would be the day after election day.
anyone have any comments on that?
Christine Appeal. I just had a question on Mira. I did listen to the call the other day, and one area that I just want to make sure is that we do have the cap on fees before any agreement is put in place. Should we pursue moving forward? I think it was 4 years ago that the municipalities did get hit with that significant fee increase, and that's a big dent in the budget. So if we can make sure that's negotiated and.
Yeah, I think the presentation spoke to that there was a range of where tip fees might go, and the lower end of the range that was discussed was reflective of having this opt-out language eliminated so that everyone was committed for the next 5 years of delivering their waste. I'm not sure when you jumped on in the meeting, Christine, but at the beginning, there was a discussion that trucking waste out of the state of Connecticut does inject some uncertainty. There's logistic issues, obviously, with taking waste and congregating it in Connecticut and then sending it out, as well as some risk associated with fuel and the rest for sending waste out of the state. I think those were just more macro policy issues that Mira was flagging, since that is now the inevitability of what's being facing the state for how we handle our waste.
Thank you.
Jim?
I, for one, would not have any objection of having some type of proclamation to let the public know that we do realize at least that there is going to be a day regarding pancreatic cancer. I don't know if we necessarily have to light up the town hall in purple, but I think that certainly a proclamation from us would certainly recognize cancer is such a terrible disease. I think we should at least recognize this particular cancer.
Thank you, Tim. Everybody else agree with that?
Sure.
Move forward with that? Okay. We will move forward with that proclamation then. Any other comments or questions for Carl? Eric?
Yes, Carl, I have a number of questions. Where are we with the senior advisor position? I know you were holding interviews for that, and the economic development coordinator.
The senior advisor position I brought to you at your last meeting for the council authorized me to try and hire someone. So we're in that process of trying to commence to seal the deal, as it were, that the employee brought on board. So we did discuss that 2 weeks ago. The economic development position, the council's approved a job description. I have not put that out on the street as of yet, while I clear the decks from other hiring processes that were started. So if I get some conclusion on the senior position, that gives me the ability to push the economic development one forward.
Could we do that tonight, conceivably?
I can't put an ad in the paper tonight. The council's already taken whatever action is necessary to get the wheels moving on that position. You approved a job description.
Okay, that's my misunderstanding. And would you kindly send an email out to Sustainable to ask if they could take some action and move something forward for us?
Yeah, I think the issue is that they don't understand what unit-based pricing is. So I think they've got to spend some time understanding what the program is and what the nature of it is before they can give the council any kind of input. So they've got to do a little bit of research before anything. But I'll send out an email.
Okay, then Carl, lastly, I was just rereading the recent CCM meeting with Joe DeLong, where he spoke about some sort of regional plans for these ARPA funds. Would that influence us at all? Is there anything we should need to consider for that?
No, I think he's looking for efficiency in the use of those dollars, and if things can be done at a regional level, it may make some sense. Our focus in the discussions in Clinton have been those dollars in this community. The other points where we were talking about regional items, I got a lot of feedback from the council that there was some hesitation over what that would look like, particularly as it related to a relationship with the COG. So that's sort of the only forum where it might make sense to be doing something regionally in terms of assisting with grant administration. There was also the potential of using the Middlesex County Chamber of Commerce and the Middlesex County Revitalization Committee to help with taking dollars and making them into local loans or local grants. So they're an entity that could help deliver something out on a regional platform basis. The COG tried to have a conversation going about utilizing ARPA dollars for the purposes of helping digitize town hall records. I'm not sure what the level of interest there is amongst the region as to whether that makes sense as a regional project. I think CCM was putting out information to encourage a higher level of discussion in the state, both at the state level and the local level, to look beyond just municipalities for individual projects. Obviously, you get a bigger bang for your buck if you've got you can lump together multiple projects together across different towns. Some of that is being done right now outside of the local ARPA allocation. As I reported previously, FEMA is playing the role of funding matchmaker, and we're asking the COGS to identify projects that might make sense, whether they're town specific or if they're regional, and then FEMA would help figure out what the right federal funding mix is, and what pots of money could make sense to chase down individual projects. So something like sidewalks becomes a regional project because there's a desire to do sidewalks across multiple municipalities. The border with us in Westbrook is an area of interest. Westbrook wants to do something. We've been moving in that direction. So that sort of looks like a regional project. Sewers, there's an interest in Westbrook, and obviously there's an interest here in doing something. I think there would be traction if you could get more towns on board, but they've all kind of moved in different directions. But again, that's a potential for some kind of regional activity. But it's outside of the ARPA dollars that are going to each town. This is separate and distinct efforts.
Anyone else? All right, all good. Thank you, Carl. We'll now move on to liaison reports. Does anybody have anything to report? Tim?
I was part of the Tuesday, October 12th meeting with Economic Development Commission, and along with their normal discussion regarding Clinton Manufacturing Coalition, the Clinton School Goodwin joint venture, and the steep facade improvement grant, they did discuss creating a tourism committee, an EDC tourism committee that would help support Park and Rec in tourism improvement, such as playgrounds, beaches, Indian River, etc. So nothing specific on that, but they did discuss it. And finally, they discussed the parking lot in back of Grand Pete's, Shore TV, and what could possibly be done to try to improve that area of town. We all know that there's areas back there that are an eyesore. Unfortunately, the town does not own evidently that parking lot. It is individually owned by the different businesses, so that if anything would be done, it would have to get the businesses together to try to make improvements. I don't know if the town could get involved to try to expedite that or not, but certainly that's something that I think for future discussion might be worth reviewing. That's it.
Thanks, Tim. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman. Hello.
Dennis, are you going?
Yeah, if you want to go first.
Yeah.
If everyone could mute their,
Hello?
Dennis, Eric, if we're not talking, mute, please. Go ahead, Eric.
Okay, Planning and Zoning met on October 18th. They spoke about and talked about regulating an amendment restricted vehicular access conservation subdivision, and also an amendment TODO section 23-1 John Street. Inland Wetlands met on October 5th, accepted and approved the annual report, and made an amendment with a fee ordinance. I just want to make mention of this. I get the planner's report from Carl and also the ZEO and WEO report from Carl. I'm not so sure it wouldn't be a bad idea to share those reports with all the council members. rather than me monthly going through and just repeating what I read in these reports, which are very revealing. I think it might be, if you wouldn't be opposed to it, each member gets a copy of these reports, because it's, I've learned so much, and I think it would be better if you had copies of these reports beforehand, if anyone's not opposed to that.
Well, good idea. Anything else? Good. All right, Dennis.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, real briefly, I attended the police commission meeting 2 nights ago. Nothing earth-shattering happening. The budget is moving right along. There's just been a slight increase in the overtime for dispatchers, because they did have a dispatcher leave. I believe he retired. And so in the process, for a couple of weeks or so, the overtime budget will take a slight hit. Of note, which I thought was very interesting, is that Officer Rickia has made a presentation, and it was tabled until next police commission for a presentation for a community service dog. Evidently, other communities throughout the state are starting this practice. I think the state police have them. We all know that hospitals and other type of agencies of that nature have these service dogs. And what it would be, it's certainly not going to be like our regular canine dog that is used for drugs and chasing down individuals. This dog would be just quite the opposite. It would be a calming dog. When people with mental problems or other natures, domestic or whatever, this dog has been proven in other communities, I guess, to provide a calming sort of atmosphere. And so this approach is something new. And again, Officer Rickia will provide more information at next month's police commission meeting. So if people are really interested in this, just instead of hearing it secondhand from me, you might want to tune into that meeting or attend the meeting, I guess, because we're holding our meetings in session, in person. So I just thought it was an interesting concept, and the police commission is going to take a look at it. Other than that, things are going well at the PD.
Thank you, Dennis. Anyone else have any comments? All right, hearing none, then we'll look for a motion to adjourn. Jim, a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Thank you again, everyone. Have a good evening.
Same to you, Mr. Chairman. Good night, all.
Take care.